Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're watching from in this crazy world we're living in. So what I'm going to go through in this video is the latest in the trial of Rachel Morin. And I'm just going to go through the details. I've been sent details by somebody that I know that is at the trial. Also, I've been watching a lot of other YouTube videos from local YouTubers who are also at the trial. Very detailed information that's come out over the last couple of days. And probably the prosecution is coming to the end of their case. And can't see the defence case lasting very long because I just don't even know what the defence are going to present. But anyway, they're going to present something, probably try and cast aspersions on other people, try and cast doubt on the DNA, etc. You know, the sort of things that defence teams do. But I don't know what sort of effect that's going to have on the jury. So let's just set the scene here. This is Rachel, of course, who was walking on the Morin-Did trail, or maybe jogging, walking, doing a regular sort of workout around the Morin-Did trail in Maryland, in America, in Bel Air. Something she'd done ever since she was a child. It's known as it was known as a very safe place to go and walk. Rachel will have done it maybe every day, or certainly many, many days, and probably felt completely safe. On that trail, it wouldn't probably have even occurred to her that she might be in any danger. But unfortunately, on that day, last summer, she was in danger, and there was evil waiting for her. I mean, do you know, the more I sort of look into this, like with other cases, there is definitely evil in this world. Just like demons. I don't know, some people that are just possessed. Just so horrible. You can't get your head around how horrible they were. Because it seems like this was possibly, likely, personally, in my opinion, most likely, a premeditated attack. Hi, Bluebell. So, you know, I almost don't know where to start. I mean, you know, I think most of you that will be watching my channel, hi, if you come into chat, I'm doing this video quite early in the morning for most of my viewers, but, you know, you'll be watching maybe on replay crew, or you'll be lurking and not wanting to join in the chat. Hi to all of you. You just almost don't know where to start with this case. It's just so sort of horrible. So Rachel, a mother of 5, in the prime of her life, in her late 30s, you know, making the best of her life. She just got into a new relationship. You know, she had a business. She was hardworking. She was a good mum. And off she went for a jog on that trail and then never came back. And the thing is, I'm not going to go into the details of the injuries, etc., but just enough to say that Rachel, there was only part of Rachel that probably was not hurt in this attack were her feet. It was brutal. It was sustained. It involved violence, but also it was an SEX attack. You know, it's just like about as low as you could get. Anyway, the man who's on trial, and he is innocent till proven guilty, of course, is Victor Martinez Hernandez. I just think how he's there in the courtroom. His hair's not like that anymore. I think he's gone back to his old short, sort of fade style, with the shaved at the sides that he had on his on the photo fit pictures that were issued of him, because he'd also committed this horrible attack in Los Angeles. And before that, he's murdered someone in El Salvador, which is his home country. So, he's just an accident waiting to happen. And just the only good thing that's coming out of this trial is that this man finally is, not a danger to women anymore. He's been arrested, and if he's found guilty, he won't get the death penalty. They don't have it in that state, but he will be in prison forever without parole. So that's the only good thing, because this man, again, I keep saying it because it just astounds me. He's literally in his early 20s, 22, 23 years old. What else would he have done if he's done all that already? I mean, what a resume, isn't it? Get to 22, or what have you achieved in your life? Oh, well, I've murdered 2 women and brutally attacked a little girl and a mum. That's all we know about. No doubt he's done other things. Personally, I think it is 100% that he's done other things, because he was on the run for 10 months after Rachel's murder. I can't believe that in those 10 months he did nothing. He'll have done something, even if it's on a lesser, even if it wasn't actual murder. I can't believe that this man won't have done anything else. He's just like a weapon, isn't he? He's just like a danger to women. So, I think the thing is about Rachel's case is, all of us who are women and are outraged that Rachel should be just doing something so normal, as going for a walk on a trail that was, it wasn't like there were people there. I mean, this was such what's the word I'm looking for? It's such a blatant attack. There were people on this trail. It wasn't a completely deserted place. He took such a chance as well, which just shows how desperate he was to do something like this. Because for someone to take the chances he took, he was seen. So this has come out now in the trial. There is a witness, an eyewitness. I mean, not to the actual murder, but that saw the build up to it. And, of course, they're now, as innocent people always feel guilty, don't they? People always feel guilty that they could have done something, they could have stopped it, but it was Victor Hernandez who did this. And sometimes you think, can you stop these people? Because if somebody could be so blatant to go out there, and even after they'd been seen, still carry on with doing what, had they planned to do it? Were they? That's what I'm going to talk about a little bit. Was he actually targeting Rachel, or was he just targeting someone? And it happened to be Rachel who went past. That's, we'll probably never know. Only he knows that. He's not likely to tell, is he? But he certainly went out there it seems that he certainly went out there with the intention of attacking someone, because he took this shovel with him. So something that has come out is, so someone sent me a photo. This isn't the actual shovel, but this is very similar to the shovel that was admitted as evidence. He was seen, this is eyewitness evidence, so eyewitnesses can be unreliable, but the eyewitness thought he was carrying a walking stick with an orange tip. But nearby the scene, this was found, a shovel very similar to this. And the detective that talked about it said it was a brand new shovel. It's as if it had only just been bought. It didn't look like one that had been used, that someone had for a while. So was it bought specifically to commit this crime? And it was found roundabout, and anyway, that's part of the evidence. So it sort of ties in with what the witness had said about, because he was surprised, I think he said, because it was a very hot day, and the person, he said, had on a hoodie and, you know, dressed warmly, sunglasses. It just, so it looked incongruous. And then, as well as that, he had this what the witness thought was a walking stick, which actually now is thought to have been a shovel similar to this. And I think it probably struck him as strange to have a walking stick, because it's not hilly terrain, you know, it's flat. So, and it probably, you know, it's not unusual for someone to have a walking stick, but of course he was quite young. You know, he realised that the person he saw was young, so he's probably thinking, why has he got a walking stick? But quite often people do carry walking sticks. I carry a walking stick when I walk my dogs, and that's just in case the dogs get into a fight, or some twonk like Victor comes along. You know, it's always something on my mind. I'm always super aware of my surroundings, because I have had unfortunate experiences at the campo walking the dogs. People, you know, a man exposing himself and things. So, you know, you've always got to be careful. So anyway, so this is a similar shovel to the one that's thought to have been seen, carried by who is thought to be Victor and seen by an eyewitness. But I'm going to go into the whole thing in a moment. So first of all, yeah, I agree, Bluebell. I think definitely there are more victims, even if they're not victims of murder, victims of assault maybe, and or you know, him exposing himself or whatever. I mean, he's just a nasty piece of work, isn't he? He's a nasty piece of work. So, it's just so good that he's in prison now, and hopefully won't see the light of day again. So I just want to show you, first of all, these photos. These are so very sad, because these are the last photos. Well, apart from the CCTV photos, which there may be, but they haven't released them. These are the photos that were released of Rachel going to the store as she was on her way to do her workout. So you can see she's dressed to go running. You know, I can't help but get it out of my head that, you know, did he know she was going there that day? Was it a regular time that she went, and had he seen her there before? Because Rachel, she is a very striking woman, and unfortunately sometimes I think, oh my God, are you not allowed to be attractive in this world? You know, is it, if you're attractive, are you not allowed to be attractive? Because twonks like him will, you know, try and do horrible things to you. Awful when people victim blame, or, you know, Rachel was a very attractive woman, and you know, he had just no right to do what he did to Rachel and take her away from all her children, etc., and just take her away from the world. You know, Rachel was a blessing to the world, and this always happens, isn't it? Every case really that I talk about, nearly every single one, the person who's been taken away is like a blessing to the world. So you know, they're doing good things, living their lives, bringing up their children, working hard, you know, not doing any harm to anybody. And then they're taken away, not only from the victims' families, but also from the world. The world needs more people like Rachel and less people like Victor, you know. And there you go. It's like another light being lost because of him. So it's easy to get angry, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair that this woman could not just go about her business, go and do her workout, and go home to her children. Terrible. Hi, David. No, I don't. I don't think you'll be. I don't. You won't be extradited back to El Salvador. I don't believe that. Well, it'll depend. I mean, I think if this case falls apart and he's not found guilty, then maybe he will be. But certainly, if this case is successful and he gets prison without parole, I don't think for a minute he'll be extradited to El Salvador. They just want him there in that prison in Maryland where they know where he is. They know that he's not coming out. I think that will be the general feeling. But anyway, we'll see. Got to get him found guilty of this case first. Anyway, I don't think there'll be much. It did strike me at the beginning that the amount of time allocated for this case was 2 weeks, which is quite short for a murder trial. But I think it's because the defence don't have anything. They just don't have anything. Anyway, I'm going to read the notes that I made from a podcast that I watched that someone recommended to me, and I'm going to show you that YouTube channel because very, very interesting. It's a local channel, someone local, from that area, and they've been going to the trial. A very very comprehensive notes that they've been making. So I watched their podcast and made notes from their podcast. But also, I know somebody else who's at the trial. They've been sending me details, and there's quite a lot to go through from the last couple of days. So let me just show you this YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel is called Decipher. It's a YouTube channel I'd never heard of before. I find it. Yeah. Tia Dash. I've never. Let me just share this with you. So I'm grateful that I found her channel, but I think as well, particularly because she's local to that area and she's been going to the trial. 1,000 subscribers, so yeah, Decipher. I feel that I'm not on the right channel there, but anyway, I want to thank Tia for doing the video she's been doing and from reporting from the trial. It's very interesting. She's very, as I say, very comprehensive notes. So first of all, I'm going to read out what came from that podcast. Yeah, he's not going to El Salvador. No way is he going to El Salvador unless he's found not guilty in this trial. He'll be kept there where he is. I'll have a look at that in a moment, Bluebell. I'd just like to concentrate on Rachel at the moment because otherwise my head, I'll lose my thread of what I'm doing. Okay, so what's happened recently in this trial is an eyewitness came into it. So this guy is called Kyle Stacey. Oh, also there was another juror was removed. I may have mentioned that before. So that's 2 jurors, I think, that have been removed. We don't get to know why the juror has been removed, but possibly they talked about the trial and they shouldn't have done. But anyway, a juror was removed and another one brought in. So this guy, Kyle Stacey, was called as an eyewitness who saw someone who he says was Victor on the trail just before this horrible incident happened. And what's important to know about this guy, while holding reservations for witness testimony, which is always difficult, isn't it? He's a big guy. So this was something that struck me when Tia was talking about in her podcast. He's a big guy, 6'4", well built, etc. He goes to that trail very often. He's a drone engineer or something, his job, but he goes there very often with his wife. And so he's not a person that would feel insecure, if you like, walking around those woods, or if he saw somebody strange. But straight away, when he saw this person, whoever it was, but who's thought to be Victor, his sort of spidey sense went up. Now, I'm sure you all know how that feels. If you walk in the campo, in the countryside, or you go on these trails, or you go running, or even if it doesn't matter where you are, actually, you can be in places if you've got any sort of instinct, which I think most of us have got, even if we're aware of it or not. Have you ever been in that situation? Because I have many times where you're going around doing whatever you're doing, whether you're walking on a trail, whether you're walking around the shopping centre, and you're fine, you don't get any, just carrying on oblivious. And then suddenly, maybe you just get a feeling about somebody who's maybe watching you, following you, walking too close to you. Maybe they're trying to steal your bag, or there can be various reasons, and you just get that sort of feeling, don't you? I think that's what this guy got. It was like almost an instinctual feeling. So he was there, and then he heard a branch snap. Apparently, he heard a branch snap, and then so he looked, and that's when he saw this person. Now, straight away he just got that feeling, that there's something strange. I do think you do get those feelings. Now, what you do with it, of course, is so he felt uncomfortable straight away. He only saw this person for a couple of seconds, and he felt uncomfortable straight away, apparently. And he just got his girlfriend, and off they went. Now, it was a male in a grey hoodie with sunglasses. So, and he was carrying this, what he thought was a walking stick with an orange tip, but as it turned out was probably this spade or shovel that we were looking at. Now, the other interesting thing that he said that makes you think was that he had a blonde beard. Now, we've never seen a photo of Victor with a beard. Actually, I'm going to have a look. I've got all these Facebook photos. I'm going to have a look in a minute. Does it? I think maybe occasionally he has a beard. And I thought a blonde beard. But of course, that can be the sun. When the sun's low like that, it can shine on you. When I'm here in Spain, of course, being a country that when the sun is low in the sky, whether it's from the sunrise or from the sun, setting, it's the worst time to drive because you're seeing things literally. You can't see things properly. The sun's in your eyes. And sometimes I think if pedestrians, motorcyclists, and people on those silly little scooters knew how little you can see them, when the sun's in your eyes like that, so dangerous for them because you're literally squinting, trying to see what's in front of you, and then suddenly a bloody scooter will whiz out, or a pedestrian will just take a chance in running across the road, or a cat or a rabbit, or and I don't want to run anything over. I don't want to run a rabbit over, or a cat, or anything. So but it did occur to me that could have been, that's one reason. Maybe it was just the sun. Or maybe he had dyed his beard blonde, because it's not unusual for fugitives who've got, if you were trying to hide, don't forget he was a fugitive, not only from El Salvador, but he was a fugitive by then from Los Angeles, where he'd committed a crime in Los Angeles. And, he probably would have been trying to disguise his appearance as much as possible. And I remember particularly Scott Peterson, who murdered his wife and baby, Lacey, and the baby because she was 9 months pregnant. He dyed his hair blonde when he went on the run. Well, he was trying to go on the run. He never quite got on the run. But when they arrested him, he dyed his hair blonde. So thing is, I read a book years ago that always sticks with me. And one of the characters in this book was a hitman, and he would travel all over the world, killing people for money. But he was a master of disguise. And what he was saying was that the best people remember, witnesses will remember something that stands out. So the best way to disguise yourself is either to be bald. Yeah, there's people who say, "Oh, he was bald." They won't notice everything else about you. They just remember that you were bald. Oh yeah, he had a bushy beard. Or he was blonde. Or he had a blonde beard. Or so the best thing to do is to choose one thing when you disguise yourself. Choose one thing really distinctive. It might be a hat or something, because people will focus on that and they won't necessarily notice the rest of you. So, that's the best way to disguise yourself, is to, choose one prominent thing that people will remember and say about you. Of course, it's different now. We don't have to rely on witness testimony so much now because we have CCTV. I can't believe that Victor hadn't been seen on CCTV anywhere in that area. If he was in that area, which it appears that he was in that area for quite a while, leading up to Rachel's murder, I cannot believe that he must have been caught on CCTV, because part of his defence, of course, is that he was never in that area. Well, of course he was in the area. And now his cousin actually has testified that he was, so you can't say that anymore. Hey, David. Hi, Tracy. David, I knew a guy who used to dress up as a woman when the police were looking for him. They used to call him Tootsie. Yeah, I mean, it's a prime thing to do, isn't it? If you're trying to hide from the police or whatever, you got to try. You don't want witnesses recognizing you, so you disguise yourself in a way. You don't have to go mad, you know what I mean? So you don't have to do a massive disguise, just something that, if people are looking for someone with dark hair and you dye your hair blonde, then obviously people go, "Oh no, you didn't have dark hair, you had blonde hair." So yeah. So that was it. So what was the other thing? So off they went. He did notice, he said that he had broad shoulders. Now we can see that about Victor, because we thought he was much bigger, didn't we, than he was, because of that doorbell camera that made it. But he is broad. He's wiry, isn't he? He's a little titch, but he's like little and very wiry and strong. You can see he's strong. And I presume if he's in construction work, I presume that's what he's doing as he's roaming around the country. The jobs that he would get in construction, he probably has to do a lot of heavy lifting. So he is broad. And he noticed, because it was hot, it was in the 80s, but he had his hood up. He had this what he thought was a walking stick with an orange tip. And very sadly, then, as they were walking back to the car, this guy and his girlfriend, they saw Rachel going onto the trail. So, of course, he now, as I was saying earlier, like all innocent people, always wish they could have done something or wish they could have stopped something happening. He wishes now that he would have said, "Oh, look, be careful, because there's a strange man just gone into the woods." But, you shouldn't feel that. You can't feel guilty about crimes other people commit, can we? Anyway. So she started, apparently she started jogging slowly along the trail. She was dressed as you saw. Let's have another look at, this is how she was dressed, in her running stuff. And she had her ear pods in. And we talk about this a lot, these ear pods. Now, you should be able to wear your ear pods and listen to music while you're jogging around a trail. But, of course, you wouldn't hear somebody coming up behind you. Rachel was probably lost in the exercise. A lot of people, when they start running, they just get lost in it, don't they, in the music, and they just That's part of the therapy of it. And I expect that's exactly what happened with Rachel. She was probably oblivious to her surroundings. But don't forget, that was a place that, you know, she was in her late 30s or I think she's 37 when she died. You know, she's been on that trail all her life since she was a child. She had no reason to think that she was in any danger. You know, I think, so do you think it'd be a good thing that on these trails that they put some signs up, whatever, whether anything's happened there or not, because there's so many times this happens. I mean, there's many times it doesn't happen. What we've got to remember is people are using these trails day in, day out, all over the world, and it's rare for something to happen. But maybe there should be some sort of warning signs, just reminding people to be aware of their surroundings, to report anything that they see strange, any strange man or woman that they see around. You know, so make sure that people are aware of it. Because I'm just thinking, like, if I went to the campo today with my dogs, or if someone else went to the campo today and something happened to them, like, you know, somebody exposed themselves to them or tried to attack them, or often these things just don't get reported. You know, they don't get reported. And so I wouldn't know. I'd go the next day. I wouldn't know that the day before, so some poor woman had had a bad experience with a man. How would I know? How would I know? You know? And a friend of mine, yeah, I mean, I've had experiences, but a friend of mine years ago, she was running with her dog not far from here. And a guy who was also running just came up to her and tried to pull her top down. You know, luckily she fought him off and nothing happened. But he literally just came, you know, he started running beside her, hi. And then the next minute he's trying to get on top of her and pull her top down. But she didn't go to the police, you know. And even if she would have gone to the police, I know, because it's happened to me. I've been exposed, someone exposing them to me while I was walking the dogs. And I was told by the police, it's not illegal to do that unless you're doing it in front of children. Now, my friend, he'd gone further than just exposing himself. He was actually, you know, trying to pull her top down and touching her, you know, and that. And luckily, she managed to fight him off. But what would have happened to her? But yeah, the next day, or maybe even later that day, somebody else would have been walking their dogs there or running and not even known. I mean, what is the answer to this? Gosh, you know, you should be able to feel safe. Anyway, I feel like maybe there should be some signs up or something telling people, you know, how to be safe. It's just the same as places where people possibly, you know, might drown, you know, that are a danger. People get into the water. There should be signs up telling people not only not to get in the water, but also maybe telling them what to do if they do get into difficulty. I mean, you know, you can't, there'll always be things that happen. It's difficult to stop things completely, but you can make as much noise about things as possible, at least enough awareness. To me, the ear pods are a big thing. You know, I understand why people do it, but once you've got your earbuds in and you're listening to music, etc., you just can't hear. You know, like that guy heard a branch snapping, but Rachel wouldn't have heard that, would she? And you know, she may have been able to outrun the guy. That's all, if she would have actually seen him. But anyway. Yeah, oh, not in Spain, apparently, Bluebell. Indecent exposure, unless it's done in front of a child. This is what I was told by the Guardia Civil. I went to, I was walking, I mean, it was very traumatic experience. Because I was walking in the campo. I had two dogs, but only tiny dogs. If I would have had the German Shepherd, maybe he wouldn't have done it. And I heard someone whistling. And I looked over to the left and there was a tree sort of in the distance. It was a little way away. Now, bearing in mind, with me, I had my phone. I had a walking stick. I always take a walking stick when I walk the dogs. And I saw this guy in the distance and I thought, oh, he's shouting his dog because he was whistling. So I'm looking around, where's his dog? And I realised he didn't have a dog. He was whistling, so I would look at him and he was, pleasuring himself. And I just literally, no matter what anyone tells you or whatever you think you would do in that situation, I literally was rooted to the spot, could not move. The fear, the terror. And he was quite a distance away. And I just stood there and I had this phone. Why didn't I just phone the police? I don't know. I was sort of scared that if I picked up the phone and he saw that, he'd come running towards me because, at least he was a distance away. So, like where I sort of was on that trail, you can see the road from there. So it was quite open. But if you carry on, you have to go into trees. So I'm thinking, do I go back the way I've came? Or do I carry on the way I normally go? But that means I've got to go into those trees. And I'd say he was quite a distance away, but, not that far away. If he started running, I'm not a runner. I can't bloody run. Even though it was quite a long time ago, still, I wouldn't have wanted to run. So I just literally stood there. And then I just thought, right, just turn around and walk back where you've come. So I turned around, started walking back the way I'd come. All the time I'm thinking, what if he comes running after me? What if he comes running after me? So I just kept looking back to make sure he hadn't moved from where he was, and he didn't. As I got off the trail, I went straight to the house of a friend of mine who lives there. She wasn't in. Her husband was there. He was I was hysterical, crying. I could get emotional now thinking about it. I was so terrified. Anyway, I phoned the Guardia. They said, you've got to come to the station. So I went to the station. And that's what he told me, the guy. He said, we can go, and if it ever happened to you again, we can come along and move them on, but it's not an offence. And he blamed it on, it's the European Union's fault. Because he said, a lot of Guardia Civil, they preferred everything under Franco because you knew where you were. Crime rates were low during Franco, but of course there was a lot of domestic violence under Franco, but actual crime from strangers was low. So he started, harking back to Franco's time and saying it's the new laws that have come in from the European Union. But I thought that exposing yourself is a crime, surely. Anyway, that's what he told me, that if all somebody does is expose themselves, unless they do it in front of children, it's not a crime. Now, it may be now. I mean, this was quite a long time ago. But I do know in Spain, it's not, like you can go and pee anywhere. Basically, men just pee anywhere they want. That was a big shock to me when I first came here. They'll just go into a doorway and pee. That doesn't seem to be an offence. That still is, it's really unusual. Anyway, there you go. So, yeah, there were only little dogs, Kelly. If I would have had the German Shepherd, I don't think it might have happened. But I hope she would have gone and bit him right on his button mushroom, I'm sure. But I couldn't see if it was a button. I didn't look at the actual details. But anyway, yeah, whistling me. And I'm like looking around thinking, where's his dog? He's whistling for his dog. And what he was whistling was for me so that I would look at him. But luckily, he was quite a distance away. Thank God. I mean, sometimes I think, God, if I would have gone the normal walk that I go and I would have gone into the trees, not seen him. Gosh. Anyway, never mind. I'm okay. So. Right, where am I? Oh, yeah. So I'm reading my notes. So he didn't really think any more of it. He saw that Rachel was going on to the trail, and he also saw, he says, the guy walking towards the tunnel. And there were other people on the trail. It wasn't just him that was on the trail with his girlfriend. So it really was a brazen attack, this. Anyway, on Monday, this guy went to work and somebody showed him the newspaper, the Baltimore Times, telling him what had happened. So he rang the tip line. He was interviewed immediately, talked to police. They went to the scene and they did a reenactment. And so did he have a blonde beard? I mean, this is one of the things he said about this guy, that he had a blonde beard. But, that could be the sun reflecting, or maybe he did have a blonde beard. And he says he had 2 seconds eye contact with the person. And when the person saw him, he froze. So again, this is eyewitness testimony. We've always got to be aware that eyewitness testimony is not always 100%, reliable, is it? So then another witness they had. So these were a policeman came on, the sergeant from the crime investigation unit. He said they cleared the air for privacy. And something that I think was very poignant is that after they'd actually forensically examined the scene, done all that they needed to do, etc., the policeman, he took a bucket of water and he cleaned the crime scene because the walls of the tunnel, and also lovely Victor, had defecated in the tunnel just not far from where Rachel's body had been lying. He'd obviously took the need to have a poo and decided to do it just there at the crime scene. So this policeman, before they reopened, the area, because you can only keep it as a crime scene so long after all the evidence had been collected, he himself cleaned that crime scene. And because he didn't want people going and taking photos afterwards, like people do, like going to the tunnel and taking photos of the blood or taking photos of the poo, which probably people would. So he went and did that himself. So I thought that was so sweet. And so, it's in people's interest to know about crimes. Yeah, this trial is in people's interest. This guy, hopefully, they've got to go, because he decided not to plead guilty, they've got to go through all the details and that. But, it's not nice, is it, for Rachel and her family for all these, it's one thing for the details to come out at trial. It's another thing for photos to be released. I hate it when crime scene photos are released. They should never be released, not the graphic ones. I mean, it's different to release a photo of the spade or, I don't know, there's photos circulating now of Rachel's phone and how badly it was smashed, etc. That's different, but releasing graphic photos. So apparently the judge in this case has told media that they are allowed to take some photos of the exhibits, but they're not allowed to take any photos of the crime scene. And they shouldn't be either, should they? Where are we? And apparently one thing that Decipher said that I thought was interesting, that during all this, as they were talking about, what had happened, a juror turned round and looked at Victor. That's quite, it sounds like a small thing. But yeah, I couldn't have been a juror on this. I would have been thrown off the jury immediately. Would be very difficult, isn't it, to, you've really got to, because he's got to have his fair trial, not because I think he should have a fair trial. I don't particularly care about him, to be honest, but you don't want anything coming up in the future that could jeopardize the trial. So that's why it's important that everything is done right, isn't it? You don't want anything for the, you don't want anything for the defence event or the appeals to bring up and say, oh, well, this wasn't done right. So it's very important that it's all done right. But, they're better people than me because, God, I just even being in there, breathing the same air as him is a nightmare. And apparently he's been preening himself, patting his hair, making sure he looks nice. Smiling. I mean, for Christ's sake, sorry, Christ, but what is wrong with this guy? He's seriously a horrible guy, isn't he? Let me just have a look at his Facebook. I've got his Facebook somewhere, just so we can see. It's important to realise just what a horror he is. I tell you what, now it's good that he's in prison. Definitely, that no other woman is going to have to look at this face again. Is good. All right. I might have to fish it out for another time. Too many photos and things. Oh, hang on there. Yeah. Oh, I've got it on a video. Yeah. So let's have a look at Victor's Facebook. Share video, isn't it? Right. I keep pressing the wrong button. So here he is. Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez. Also. Works at Trabajo in Micasa, Viendo TV e-chat. So he works at working at home, watching the TV and chat. So he went to Imus National High School, lives in Santiago de Maria, El Salvador. Now, bye Tracy. Have a good day. Hi Moonbeam. Now I was thinking about this. This woman that he killed in El Salvador, I think she was an ex-girlfriend. I don't know all the details, but surely his family must have known that he was on the run for that murder. I was thinking about it because his cousin, he was staying with his cousin in Maryland. Now, in Hispanic culture, the same as here in Spain, I would imagine it's the same everywhere. Extended family is just as important as close family, cousins, etc. So I'm just thinking, if you knew your cousin, surely they would know that he was on the run from El Salvador. If you had family, if you were staying in another country and you had family, like I've got family in Britain, and suddenly my cousin turned up at my door and said, "Oh, I need to come and stay with you for a few weeks," you'd be like, "Well, why? What's happened?" And surely the rest of your family, the other members of your family would tell you, "Oh, well, they're accused of murdering their girlfriend or some woman or whatever." So, it did make me wonder, did the others know? Oh, relationship status, single. That's a surprise, isn't it? This is a man who couldn't get a woman probably by a normal method. So when he's done this Facebook page, he's probably only 20 or something. Sorry, I just fast forward it a bit. This photo worried me. Yeah, this is a photo that was on his Facebook. Well, it's a cartoon, obviously, but it's like Bugs Bunny with a woman over his knee and he's spanking her. Yeah, that's a bit worrying, isn't it, really? That's... There he is. Little midget, small man syndrome. And these are his friends. I don't know if his Facebook's still up there, but I recorded it ages ago when he was very first arrested. I recorded his Facebook profile. I thought it might disappear sooner or later. Also, yeah, look at that. So that's like a sort of cartoon meme thing that's on his Facebook. Now, on his friends, there was a lot of women on his friends. I don't know if they're family. I think his grandma was on there as well. You know, wonder what she thinks of him. His mum, his grandma, his dad. And he's got this. That's like the dog at the entrance to hell, isn't it? So this saying that he's got here, let me read it to you. Que hablen mal de mí, total ni me va ni me viene. Oh, hang on, Vicky, put it on pause would be a good idea. Hang on, let me pause it. Que hablen mal de mí, total ni me va ni me viene, ni me visten, ni me mantienen. So those who speak badly about me, they don't matter to me, they don't come, they don't go, they don't dress me, and they don't maintain me. So I wonder who was speaking bad of him at the time. That'd be everybody now, Victor. Everybody. Todo el mundo ahora habla más mal de ti. So apparently this twonk was watching YouTube videos about Rachel's murder. I hope he was watching mine because I've always said horrible things about him. These are his friends, you know, which is a shame for them, really, because I'm sure, you know, a lot of women on there. You know, was he active on, you know, maybe some of them are family, maybe not, I don't know, but a lot of women as his friends. So I don't feel bad about showing it was all public. I had quite a lot of friends, a lot of Facebook friends. Apparently, nobody's in the courtroom supporting him. Whatever friends that he thought he had, he doesn't seem to have many friends now. Let me forward it a bit. So, don't think there's anything else really. There wasn't loads on his Facebook. Should have added him as a friend. So, right, I've just got I'll be 2 ticks. Okay, just got to go a minute. Won't be a minute. Okay, sorry about that. I've now got to wake up number one son because he decided he wanted to get up early this morning, no idea why. And he was out late last night, so it might take a while. Okay. Oh, so let's go back to notes. So now I'm going to go back to the other source that I've got who's been sending sending me information, who's going to the trial every day, and they've been very kind, sending me their notes, etc., so that I get a good idea of what's actually going on. Now, one thing they did send me, which I'd like to show you, is they sent me a photo. How am I going to show this photo? Hang on. Just takes me. Yeah. So they sent me a photo of the witness who reenacted sort of what they saw. Sent me a photo of it. There. So this was the witness with the police, showing sort of how far away they were from the person that they saw with the. So it's quite a distance. Just to say that that's the witness there in the orange t-shirt, I think, I presume, and they were showing where they were and how far away the person was that they saw. So it's quite a distance, isn't it? So could he really see if he had a blonde beard? Could he see that? And as I say, I'm not sure about the blonde beard, but surely his own cousin, who he'd been staying with, could testify as to whether at some point he ever had a blonde beard or not. But anyway, there's a lot that we'll never know 100%, isn't there, at the end of the day? Only Victor knows. And he ain't going to tell, because as far as Victor says, he was never in Maryland. Never there. So let's have a look. Let's find this email that I need to read. Can't find the email. Yeah, not that one. Sorry, that was the day before. I've read that one, I think. Sorry, I've got quite a lot of emails here now that I'm trying to look through. Here we go. So this was April the 10th. So yesterday, these are the notes that they've sent me. So they had his cousin on as a witness. Let me put a picture of Rachel up while we're talking about this. I think I'd like to put a picture of Rachel up. So the witness was Jose Ivan Hernandez, which is his cousin, Victor the Viper's cousin. And Jose lived in Temple Hills, Maryland in August 2023 with his sister, Tanya Hernandez, and their mother. My God, that's a family, isn't it? A brother, a woman, a girl. So not only the mother was living there and his sister, Tanya. I know that they were his cousins, but they weren't safe with Victor in that house, were they? In December 2023, Victor contacted his mother, who is Victor's aunt, via Facebook Messenger. So on that Facebook account, using the pseudonym, a different Facebook account, Fernando Ishmael. And Victor asked for help, saying he had no place to live. Victor was allowed to come and live there because he was family. See, I don't think you can underestimate in the Hispanic culture. It's the same here in Spain. The family is so important, even the extended family. He slept on the couch, but he never paid rent or contributed to any household bills, and this was a problem. During the week, Victor stayed with Tanya Hernandez, the sister, in Alexandria, Virginia, who was staying with a girl, a woman. On the weekends, he would stay with Jose and other family members, and Victor stayed there for 5 months. On May the 24th, in May 2024, the FBI visited Jose's apartment in Temple Hills, Maryland. When the FBI was there, Victor went out back to wash clothes. When the FBI, I wonder why they went there. So the FBI went to Jose's apartment, and while they were there, Victor went out the back to wash clothes. One of the FBI agents left his card for Jose, but Jose left it on the couch where Victor slept, and from there it disappeared. And when Victor was apprehended, apparently he had an FBI card with him. A photo of the card was displayed and identified as Jose as being the card left with him. So it sounds like when the FBI went there, that was probably just in their general canvassing of the area. You know, they probably went to a lot of different addresses, not particularly going to that address because because they were suspecting anybody there. They were probably just at that time, I suppose, doing a general sweep of the area. So the Harford County Sheriff's Office returned on June the 17th, 2024, about 4 weeks after Victor suddenly left without saying anything. So they've obviously got up one morning, he's just gone, this guy. And he left behind white Fila shoes, a bag of clothing and a watch. Let's put a picture of him up so that we can, I want his face. So after he'd done what he'd done to Rachel, then a couple of days later, he's left his you're right, David, he's a freeloader, sleeping on the couch, not paying any rent. You know, who was feeding him? Was he buying his own food? What was he doing? Was he working? God. You know, this guy, I mean, he's the most dangerous of killers because he just moves from place to place. You know, it's so much easier to catch a killer, when they know their victim. So if you can't prove, as we know, when somebody is attacked or killed, the police always start with the inner circle, don't they? The family, friends, etc., and then work outwards. When you've got someone like him who's traveling all over the country and just moving from place to place using different names, he's harder, isn't he, to catch? So what he's done is just done a runner. He's not really registered anywhere, is he? Because he's just a drifter. That's what we call, he's a drifter, isn't he? So harder to catch. But not as clever as he thought he was. It took a while to get him, of course, but they did get him. So when he left without saying anything, he left behind him white Fila shoes, a bag of clothing and a watch. And Jose, who was the leasee, signed the consent form for the HCSO to take the items that were left behind. And Jose also provided 2 door cam videos of Victor Hernandez leaving or entering the apartment. So that, so he was there. So what are the defense going to say? Honest to God, I'm really intrigued to see what the defense are going to say, because they can't say he wasn't there because his own cousin has got proof that he was there. So they're not going to say he wasn't in that area, are they? He was in the area. Jose gave Victor a yellow Jordan hat as a Christmas present. Now, we've seen this photo. This is the hat seen in photos publicly available of Victor. Victor wore this same hat in both door cam videos. He also gave the HCSO Victor's phone number, and I've actually got the phone number here. We should ring it, see who answers. It's probably the police. And after leaving, Victor contacted Jose using Facebook Messenger and asked if he would buy him a ticket to Texas using his name. So this twunk has phoned his cousin, who's put him up for rent-free for all that time, and asked if he would buy him a ticket to go to Texas. And Jose said no. Now, I think very telling, the defense did not bother cross-examining this witness. That's very important, isn't it? They didn't bother cross-examining because they couldn't, could they? What could they say? And then if they cross-examined, maybe then the door cam video would be brought out. So that witness then was dismissed. Then the other cousin, Tanya Hernandez, she has lived in Alexandria, Virginia for 13 years. She works as a cashier at a restaurant. And when she was visited in Alexandria, Virginia, she gave them a toothbrush and a blanket that were Victor's. She also gave them a selfie of her and Victor, which was taken at Christmas 2023. Oh my God, you know, I really do feel for these people. She spent Christmas with him. And now she's finding out what a horror he is, and she spent Christmas with him. You know, I think that'd be quite traumatic, wouldn't it? To realise that you've spent time with somebody who's done something like this. Oh, thank you, Bluebell. That's very kind. Thank you so much. Yeah. Imagine if you've had your family over to stay and then you find out that he's done, the person that you've had in your house, I don't know if she's got children, the person you've had in your house, met possibly amongst your children, spent Christmas with, took selfies with, is done, you know, is accused of doing something like this, still innocent till proven guilty. Oh my God, I cannot wait for this sentence. Cannot wait for the verdict, I should say. I'm not supposed to, you know, allegedly did this, but imagine they've been in your house, maybe around your children, around you, while you slept. Very traumatic. Again, no cross-examination. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? The defense didn't even bother cross-examining Tanya either. Then the next witness, Anna Trejo. Anna worked as the general manager for Popeyes in Bel Air, Maryland. And on June the 17th, 2023, Victor Hernandez submitted an application using the name Roberto Campos. So he's just using all different names all the time as well. Victor was hired and he worked there for 6 months with 2 breaks during that time. So this man who says that he's never been to Maryland, he worked there. Again, no cross-examination. I mean, I think this trial is going to finish before 2 weeks are up. If the prosecution rests today, I think will he then change his plea? I wonder. How's he going to say? How's he still going to say he's not guilty? Anyway, next witness, Angel Escalante. Angel worked at Barrett's on the Pike as a cook, and he testified that Victor worked there as a dishwasher in October for 2023 for somewhere between 3 weeks to a month. There's someone else who says he was there. No cross-examination. Witness dismissed. Then the next witness is called Marcos Campos. So remember that Victor had used the name Roberto Campos as one of his pseudonyms. Anyway, Marcus lived with his cousin on Old English Court, Bel Air, Maryland. Marcus testified that Victor came to the area around the end of 2022, but he wasn't sure. He says Victor came to the area with long hair and a beard. It's interesting, isn't it? And a drawn look. Well, he was already on the run, of course. Marcos was living with another Hispanic man at the time. After around 1.5 weeks, Marcus moved out of the apartment on Old English Court and moved to a house next to a park along with Victor. Marcos and Victor shared a room. Right, I've just got to go back. Sorry, little pause while I just go and get my son up for whatever it is he wants to get up for. Won't be a sec. If I wouldn't have had the picture of Victor there, you would have seen my dog. You would have seen the dog get on. The dog was taking over the live. Anyway, I've got to shout him again in another 10 minutes. So he's murder to get up. But anyway, so sorry because it's very important this. But do you know what? Reading this, I've sort of felt quite happy because, you know, I've seen all these people come up and testify that he was in the area, and the defense not even bothering cross-examining them makes me feel happy. You know, this is going to be, anyway, I shouldn't prejudge. Shouldn't count your chickens before they hatch, but it feels, you know, like he's going to get found guilty, isn't it? Anyway, so Marcos testified that Victor stayed there from maybe March to August or something like that. And Marcus told Victor they had to live separately because of bad habits. So I bet Victor's horrible to live with. You could imagine, he's like gone out there and defecated at a murder scene. What are his habits going to be like? He's not going to be, he's not going to be a nice person to live with. He's a horror, isn't he? So Victor moved out without notice, leaving a note for Marcus saying he left, but he did not say where he was going. So that's what he would do. He would just not give anyone any notice, just move out. And Victor lived with Marcus the whole time he was in Bel Air. Marcus worked at Chili's and Victor would come there to drink at the bar. God, you know what? Anyone who's realised that they've had some sort of interaction with Victor, even if it's just been sat by him at the bar or whatever, will be, traumatised now. Now, he was cross-examined and he testified that Victor worked at Popeyes, then Barrett's on the Pike. Maybe around June is when he began working at Popeyes. The HCSO visited Marcus in June 2024. He told the detectives that Victor stayed in Bel Air through the winter. He was reminded of the time Victor left after looking at a statement he gave the HCSO. This corrected his earlier statement that Victor left in August. And Marcus agreed with prosecution. He likely remembered more clearly in June of 2024 because it was closer to the time when Victor left the area. And the defence inadvertently helped to line up Victor's timeline with other witnesses. Then he was dismissed. Then another witness, Jose Bravada, he lived at the Old English Court apartment with the previous witness, Marcus Campos. Jose and Marcus are cousins. Jose testified that Victor lived at that apartment about a week. When Victor came to live with them, his hair was longer and he was dirty. Oh. Jose said that Victor could only stay there till he got on his feet. Since Jose did not know Victor, Victor could not live there. And that witness was dismissed. So, yeah, all these people were doing him favours because of his family, you know, and not know, you know, it's like that's how that community is, you know. So there's someone to be saying, oh, my cousin has got nowhere to stay. Can he come and live here for a while? And be, oh, yeah, only because it's their friend's cousin or their cousin's cousin, or, you know, there's all this extended family sort of type. What's the word I'm looking for? Loyalties. Then it was Detective Michael Wazinski, and on June the 13th, 2024, around 6 p.m, he received one bag of dirty clothes, one bag of clean clothes, white Fila shoes, a black, white and red shirt, a black blue cell phone, a black watch, a pink toothbrush with green bristles. There was one black hair in the toothbrush, which was removed, a pair of jeans, a yellow shirt, and a black with blue trim Under Armour shoes. The items were swabbed for DNA. So Victor wasn't as clever as he thought. He left all that stuff behind to be swabbed for DNA. So the detectives sprayed the black Under Armour. The shoes were swabbed on the underside of the tongue and the sides of the inside because these are high contact areas where sweat might come through the socks or from bare feet. The shirt was swabbed in the collar area because open skin touches that area. The detective sprayed the black Under Armour shoes with luminol because the white sides of the shoe soles had discoloration and had a pattern that looked like one found at the crime scene. Luminol did not indicate blood, but then the detective realised the pattern was actually slightly different. So the cross-examination, these points were brought up. The clothing was not brought to the FSU in evidence bags. And then another witness came, Patrol Officer Kylie Delmont, who was, I remember her she was the arresting officer in Tulsa. You know, when we watched the video of his arrest, we watched the video of his arrest. Do you remember that woman who were arresting him? She was great. She was really good, wasn't she? So she was the female officer who went into the bar to arrest Victor, as seen on the public body cam. So she was on the June the 14th, 2024. She was working the overnight shift, commonly referred to as the first shift. That night, she received 2 photos of Victor that included his height, weight, and date of birth. She was first called to another location, but Victor was not there. She was given a second location, which was at Los Dos Amigos Sports Bar. When she first arrived, she looked for possible exterior exits and spoke with a security guard. The guard initially said Victor was not at the bar, but changed his mind and said Victor was there. Officer Delmont took Victor outside where he was patted down and placed in handcuffs. He maintained his name. Do you remember this? He said his name was Juan Carlos. telling Officer Delmont this was his name 9 times. And he said his date of birth was October the 21st, 2001. She asked Victor to show his teeth. Yeah, I remember all this. She compared that to a photo and she said that Victor's teeth were unique because the front two stuck together but the others had gaps. The teeth in the photo matched what she saw when she was looking at Victor's teeth. He could not provide identification. He said he did not have a phone. And then Officer Delmont said that the security guard turned over Victor's phone, which he passed to the security guard when the police entered. So as the police entered, he gave his phone to the security guard. Now, the other thing about this Hispanic community is we have to remember they probably all stick together a little bit because, of course, that guy, the security guard, he didn't know what the police were coming in for. He probably thought it was to do with residency issues, visa and things like that. So they all do stick together a little bit because they're all a bit scared of the police, especially under the current climate of deportation and everybody hating immigrants. But of course, the thing is, Victor has not done the other immigrants any favors, has he? He's created more hatred and suspicion. We all know really logically that it's not only immigrants that kill people, but the thing is, people will use these sort of cases as a stick to beat other immigrants with. So did Victor resist? No. When he was being handcuffed, he tensed up, and then she was dismissed, the police officer. Then another witness is Patrol Officer Alicia Markham, another arresting officer. Apparently, she said that Victor seemed nervous but calm, and she was dismissed. Then another detective, Stephen Sanders, he testified that when Victor's phone was unlocked, he checked the number and he gave the number out, and he stated that the 918 area code that was of the phone number is Tulsa, and he was dismissed. Then the next witness was Heather Marsh, Harford County Sheriff's Office head of digital forensics. Now, this was really interesting. I mean, there's quite a lot to say here, but she's the one that went through Rachel's devices, the laptop, her car, a camera, found no evidentiary value in those. But on June the 18th, she was given, 2024, she was given a laptop belonging to Victor. Nothing of evidentiary value was found. On August the 27th, she was given a Samsung Galaxy that was Victor's. The previous technician failed to unlock the phone 6 times, so Heather made another attempt. And using brute force hacking, she was successful. And she found data of evidentiary value in the following categories: location, user dictionary, images, Wi-Fi networks, Google search maps, and emails. Google map searches, I should say. And the emails contain results from job searches, 25-mile radius of Bel Air. The Google Maps search history was Home Depot, Oxon Hill, Maryland. Previous Wi-Fi networks concentrated on the Temple Hills apartment. A user dictionary, and he had searched Air Bell, Maryland, MD, Maryland, Moring, so it's spelt a name wrong, Rachel, asesinato, which is Spanish for murder, matar, Spanish to kill, and other variations of Maryland. And he had, he had cached images, 8 images from a YouTube cached video from June the 5th, 2024, a screenshot, and this witness was dismissed. Oof. So I wonder which YouTube, well, it probably won't be one of my YouTube channel's too small, but I wonder which YouTube video it was. it's horrible to think he might be watching you, have watched you on YouTube, but I suppose that's it. Anyone can watch it, can't they? Then the last witness was Detective Golden. He was recalled, the lead detective for the Rachel Morin homicide investigation. June the 24th, 2024, the arrest warrant was issued, but they had no idea where he was located. And then a mobile ping, a telephone mobile ping, identified Tulsa as the location. June the 14th at 8 p.m, they contacted Tulsa PD. June the 14th, 2024 at 11 p.m. or 11:30, Tulsa responded saying they had arrested Victor Hernandez. And that's when the journey to justice for Rachel really started, wasn't it? So, yeah, so really, I know it took 10 months, but it's you know, they pieced it together. It's hard to find someone who's just traveling around the country. Probably is that by then, even his own family didn't know where he was, because he only contacted them when he felt like it. And also, even contacting them, he used a different name. Okay, look, I've got to go. I'll be back later. I'll definitely be back later to talk about something else. God knows what. There's so many things to talk about at the moment. But listen, thank you so much for caring about Rachel and justice for Rachel. It's so important, so important. I really feel like we're coming to the end of this trial now, thank God, and nearer to proper justice for Rachel, a verdict, followed by a long sentencing. Please, God, let's pray for that, and some relief for this family that have been through so much. Okay, thank you, Bluebell, for the super sticker. I'll see you all really soon in the next video, and until then, as always, may your God go with you. God bless Rachel.